I'm sorry, do I have a motion to return to the regular order?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Henwood.
Yes.
Councilman Doran.
Yes.
Councilman Monti.
Yes.
Councilman Vidal.
Yes.
Councilman Jordan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rouse.
Yes.
All right, next up for conference tonight, we have M2U Engineering with the Veterans Field presentation. It's the shot. Can you guys introduce yourself? And
Sure. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Santos, and this is my colleague David Jasmeski. We're from Negley Engineering. We're here to follow up on the December 19th meeting. What we're here to discuss are the site improvements and the site amenities for Veterans Field. Just to give you an overview of what's going on, this was taken based off of the master plan originally in 2005. With several improvements to the various areas, some of which are already existing, so we're going to try to preserve those. Obviously, you have your community center with your parking areas. A portion of that parking area that is existing gravel is going to be reconstructed to be pavement asphalt. The Little League field, because it has so many already existing amenities, the lighting, the elevated press box, what we're going to do in this area in conjunction with our site remediation is instead of filling, we're going to be stripping about a foot of material off that, covering it with a membrane, and then re-topsoiling and sodding that area. And again, that was in order to preserve the existing amenities that are already on site. Then we'll come down here to the jogging area, the pathway. What we're doing here is bank stabilization with large riprap stones, and the Hudson River walkway, which is a requirement of the waterfront development permit. The other thing we're doing in this area is everything is going to be raised. So everything along the riverfront is going to be reconstructed and raised to a higher elevation, except the configuration will remain the same. So as you see the walking path now, it will be redone in that same figure 8 shape. The existing flagpole that's there will remain. The only thing we'll be doing is taking that concrete, the star-shaped pad, and elevating that. And the other thing you have there are the existing exercise equipment machinery that was recently installed. We'll be removing that, preserving it, and then reinstalling it whenever the project reaches its completion. You have your picnic area. The only thing that's going to happen there is it's going to be revamped. You're going to be getting new picnic tables, new barbecue grills, and a new fire pit. The side areas will be at basically the same elevation. Those are going to be tapered down. So you'll have the majority of your increase in grade happening within the figure 8 shape, and everything else will taper down to meet existing grades for the both properties on each side. What we're proposing here is a dog run, and on top of that will be your proposed playground area. The equipment we have in there is 2 to 5 and 5 to 12, so essentially you'll have a range of 2 to 12 with handicap accessible play equipment, swing sets, what are they called? The teeter-totters, you know, things like that. Your existing tennis court will obviously remain. We don't want to rip anything up that is existing there now. But what's going to happen is, because of the ball field, you will be raising your elevation in that area, so you are going to have a wall that's going to be constructed around the tennis court, but that physical tennis court area will remain as it is now. You'll have a proposed parking lot area. This area is going to give you about 71 new spaces to the Veterans Field facility. You have the brick paver walkway that comes all the way up to River Road. That's also part of the Hudson River walkway. They ask you to provide access so that anyone walking along River Road can come straight down and access the waterfront walkway. Your multi-purpose field, which will include 2 realigned softball fields and a realigned baseball field, and you'll have a soccer field in the middle. What that will do is we're going to be raising that elevation probably the most significantly, because you have an existing grade that is below flood elevation. So what tends to happen is if you have a high tide, a lot of rain, you're going to get water coming up through the existing inlets that are on the field right now. So what we're proposing in this phase is you're going to get all new drainage, new irrigation, and you're going to get new sod in that area. You're having a perimeter wall that comes all along the parking lot area. Again, like I mentioned, you're going to have one around your tennis court, and you're going to have another wall along the north side parking lot area. That wall will actually be stepped. We didn't want to give you, a 3-4 foot high wall. So it's actually going to be tiered with a landscape area just to break it up, give it a little bit more of an aesthetic feel. Your community center obviously will stay. You have an existing playground there. The only thing we're going to do is resurface that with, the new synthetic surface and put those play equipment structures back. Your basketball court also will remain, but because we're preserving the elevation with the Little League field, that will not have a wall around it like the tennis court. You will have a perimeter wall along the jogging path, but for the most part, the Little League field and the basketball courts will stay at the same elevation. That area will basically remain the same, other than stripping the topsoil around it. Other than that, there are a few amenities that have been removed due to budgetary constraints. There was a stage that was proposed within the jogging field. Lighting was proposed in the multi-purpose field, but that is a very big item. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the conduits in the ground so that at a later date, whenever the borough chooses to do so, they could come back and install those amenities. And the same thing with the stage. It's not that these items are not proposed, they're just not proposed in this current phase. Other than that, I think there was some volleyball courts and a handball court that were also eliminated at this time. But for the most part, all of your amenities that were originally included in here are going to be included. A few of the items that we are looking into preserving, because we know they have a certain value to them, is you do have memorial trees planted all along the figure 8. Excuse me if I'm calling that the job. What we're going to do is we're going to try to ball those up, take them out of the ground, and store them somewhere. It's probably going to have to be somewhere off-site, because for the duration of the construction, they should all be in the same location all together. And what we'll do is we'll put in our specification how we expect them to ball, how we expect them to take them out of the ground. You typically want to do it in the spring, because there is a fall transplant hazard where if you start digging around the roots, the tree could go into shock. So we don't want any of that to happen, but we do want to put it in a centralized location where maybe we'll have to put it in a planting box for the time being, and we're going to want to irrigate it in some controlled manner so that those trees do stay viable for whenever we had to come back and replant them. You had a 9/11 memorial structure in there also with some brick pavers. Those are also going to be lifted and preserved and restored in this general vicinity. You have an existing sign area for the memorial field that will also be reconstructed, but all those amenities are we're going to try and preserve them so that they can be restored as they were intended. Your softball, baseball fields will get new dugouts, new elevated bleachers, player benches, backstops. Along the perimeter, you're also going to get some fencing, specifically along the southern boundary along your parking lot. You're going to get 30-foot high netting because you don't want any foul balls to come and hit any of the cars over here. Other than that, you have just your walkway, your bank stabilization. This will also get a wall because, again, we are raising that elevation with a decorative fence that's going to match what you have along River Road at this time.
What's the elevation again? How much are we raising it?
I could get into that. Just to touch up on a couple other things. All the lawn areas around the community center will also be stripped about a foot. Membrane will be placed at that location.
Parking lots?
No, the parking lot access, yeah, not all the lawn areas around the community center. The sidewalk that was already constructed along River Road will continue across the property, and there will be handicap ramps and a stairway that will lead down to that parking lot. With respect to grades, the big ball field itself will be raised approximately 2 to 4 feet in some spaces. Now, the reason we're raising it so high is it provides a cap for the contaminant material, but it also elevates your field above the flood elevation of 10. So basically, at either end of your field, your elevations can be 10. That's where all the stormwater will run off to, and your center of your field, because you need to slope it properly, will be around elevation 11.5.
It's going to be crowned, sort of?
Yeah, it is, yeah, because like I said, all your infields and your outfields need to be crowned from the center, away from the fields of play.
Is the figure eight going to be crowned as well?
It's
Preventing
actually,
flooding in
that will be elevated, and it's crowned in a different way. It's not crowned from the center, it's crowned from almost the way it is right now. It's almost crowned at the back end where the walkway is, so it's going to continue towards the field where we have additional drainage, and this will be basically your high point. So a portion of the figure eight will drain directly to the Hudson. A portion will be collected through inlets and directed to the Hudson River.
stormwater,
Yeah.
to drain.
Yeah. And your Little League field will get under drains as part of the modifications to it, and new fencing along the perimeter. The fencing along here will be 1-inch mesh, which is much smaller than typical chain link fence. And you're going to get the protective covering for the baseball fields. You see the typical yellow. This will be a nice black to match the fence. Just when kids are going to catch fly balls, they'll get banged into those poles. The elevations, what we were saying is, since we're matching existing grade on either side of the figure eight, we're still mitigating those areas. Any areas we can't fill a minimum of 2 feet, we're mitigating by stripping the soil foot and providing a membrane and putting back a foot of topsoil.
Couple of questions.
Sure.
The trees along River Road on top are over 100 years, and I understand you're going to do everything, and we have to insist on that to protect those, right? The trees that run along the northern border, adjacent to the big diamond, there's about 4 or 5 of them. I understand they may come out because in order to keep them, you have to dig a well around it, right? Because the elevation's going
Right.
out, then there's a hazard for kids to fall in.
There's a large well. I mean, these areas were, like I said, we're filling about 4 feet. So you think about 4-foot well.
You can't bring soil 2 feet up on a tree and
No.
it'll die.
You can't
Once
put
you
any
put a
fill on
foot,
top of
yeah.
their root system.
Got it. And so those trees will come out, you say they have to, and they're going to be replaced by trees that in the plan to the cost to replace them?
We are
in your budget?
we're providing, yeah, no, we're providing a whole new landscape plan for these areas, you know, to match what's there right now. If that's something the borough wants along that area, that's something we can consider.
I just think we should take one more quick look at that, because I would just hate to lose those trees. But anyway, last question. On the bottom, along Hudson River, the walkway,
Yes.
there was a talk at one time for the retaining wall to come up maybe a foot or two because the baby geese can't get up, and is that still a plan?
Oh, yeah, no, along here, since we are raising it,
Right.
you know, several feet, there will be a retaining wall along that perimeter.
And how high?
At the ends, you know, about 2 feet, at the highest point, about 6.
6 feet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is one spot, and the only reason is, yeah.
And we are going to have a decorative fence on top of that.
On top of the 6-foot wall?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, have people leaning over, it's a nice scenic view, you just
Right.
don't want them falling off.
But how long is a 6-foot section? Because I'm 6 foot, right? I wouldn't be able to see.
I mean, is this one was 6 foot?
No.
Yeah.
Get the wall.
The total 6 foot.
Comes down. It's a 6-foot drop from the walkway, right? Correct?
Yeah, it's a 6-foot drop, yeah,
You're
exactly.
on the walkway and it drops 6
So
feet
the
into the
fence is
water.
on
Yeah.
top of that?
Yeah, the fence is along the top of the wall, so if you're going out to view the Hudson River, you're basically standing, you know, holding the fence and looking out. Yeah.
And it is an open concept fence, just like you have along River Road. It's that black decorated aluminum fence.
And I'm sorry, the really last question. The idea that the dog run is so close to the playground, are we okay with that?
Well, the dog run's going to be fenced in.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But they'll be passing kids, that's where they get in and out. Is there any concerns we have? Dogs next to kids? Just throw it out there.
I mean, I don't feel it's a concern, just because both areas are fenced, self-latching gates, you know. Basically, any dog run, you're gonna have children playing in the area, which is why both those areas will be completely fenced.
There was no dog run in the original plans for this.
There was a dog run in the original plan, however, it was within your parking area. So you were actually having people get out of their cars and come into this island area for the dog run.
It was within the original master plan.
I hope this, we haven't really resolved all these things because it's really running counter to 2 major trends, putting us like 20 years behind the times. you're putting a dog run instead of lifetime sports activities such as racquetball, handball, tennis practice, soccer practice, things that people can do until they're 80 years old, and instead you have a dog run. That doesn't make sense to me at all. And the other thing is, we know that artificial grass is so much cheaper over the long run. It's much more playable. It's much more usable, and it's relatively over time much less expensive. So why do you keep saying sod? Did we vote on that?
This is sod, that's correct.
Who put that into the plan? I didn't know we decided that.
Well, I believe at the last meeting, there was a lot of back and forth regarding grass versus the artificial turf.
Yeah, and it wasn't resolved.
Well, that's what is that what we're doing tonight? I mean, in terms of the vote, right?
Yes.
Sod is grass.
Sod is grass.
Sod is grass.
Dave's talking about
You're
artificial.
not saying,
Artificial grass.
we're not going on artificial turf.
That's what I'm saying, you should be.
No.
Oh.
What do you know? It's much more playable. It's 20, all year round. It's everywhere they're doing that. Relatively few places are now doing so. It takes much, excuse me, it takes much longer to go, excuse me? It takes much longer from start to finish to get on that and start playing. Artificial turf is like 3 weeks. It has recyclable products that can make it much lighter, much less threatening to movement of earth in that area. So I don't know where we are with that, but that's a step backwards.
Well, again, the fields were always, per the master plan, intended to be natural grass fields.
No.
That's how.
Yes, I believe they were, Dave. I think the discussion, I know you had brought it up a few times at rec committee meetings or where we discussed this. I know you had mentioned artificial turf, but I believe the intention was always sod.
Who's the name?
That's the intention of the master plan. Wasn't that the original?
The original
We
master
brought in
plan called for
several
sod.
artificial turf people and discussed it, and there was never a resolution of that, as far as I know.
Well,
I think the concept of, I understand what you're saying as far as sports, but as far as a public place where people, there was some discussion that people would favor grass as opposed to turf. I'm not talking from a maintenance point of view or from a sports usage,
Or cost?
but I'm talking about
Usability?
with people, the public.
I want to walk in the grass, you know.
You can have a picnic on second base?
Well, that's the big question, is it a park or is it a baseball
That's what
field?
we
You know?
all said when
We're talking about a field.
Right.
Yeah, it's
I can argue both ways, but I think grass is what everybody's leaning toward.
I mean, both have valid points, but
Absolutely.
What would be the valid points of grass?
It's
It's
natural.
natural. You know, where is
It's
that?
natural?
Yes.
But kids can't play on it when it's muddy. They can't play on it when it's raining.
well, we
You
hope
know,
that
We
we're,
got fattest kids in the world, and we're gonna not do anything for them? And there we go.
Sod, between sod and turf is the difference because of the kids' weight problems. I think, you know,
Yeah,
we have
because they can't
a
play as
beautiful
often.
field here.
They can't play
And,
as
you know,
often.
it's the only place some of these kids are gonna have the chance to smell natural grass.
Yeah, we have very little grass in this town, when you think about it, that's a good point.
That's important.
It is to me. It is personally, yeah.
You'd rather have the kids no activity.
The activity, you can't have activity on sod?
Not anywhere near as much.
I disagree with you.
When it rains, Jim, you can't do it.
Well, I mean, we're also providing drainage for
More
this.
years than sod.
That's why we're raising the 3 feet they're raising, they're gonna provide drainage first. So, I mean, it's not gonna be the existing field that had water issues.
You are providing a substantial under drainage system. We're talking about pipes every 20 feet all across this field.
When we were down in Atlantic City, we stopped at a couple of, at the municipal company exhibitors. One of the things the guy told me, which you may want to think about, is he said if you have an open field environment, open park, and you happen to have baseball fields on it, and you leave it open 24 hours a day for people to roll strollers through, fly kites, do the things that you want to do to the park, he goes, you get cigarette smoking, you get burns in it, it melts. He says there's a lot of problems, because I think most of the places you're talking about are facilities that are closed up at night, and are for one thing, you don't see a lot of
Every
beautiful
town around
open.
here.
Well, Dave, you know-
Look around you. Every town around you. Fort Lee.
Well, this is like our North Hudson Park, you know, which is a duck pond and grass, so I think that's what we consider more than a sports arena.
It's not.
Yeah, they have a
But when kids are
specified
getting so
field
fat
that's
and we're
turf.
having so many health problems,
You can't
why do
say
you
that,
even?
why? You get fat.
Well, you're on the list. You
Been on the list my whole life.
You just take a look around. That's more rewarding.
No, I hear you, you're right.
It's crazy.
You're right, I'm
It's
fat.
absolutely crazy. You're kidding me. I can't believe it's like, I don't know, what was that movie, Planet of the Apes? They all sat there and made these decisions.
Now you call me an ape?
No, come on, look around you. It's not happening.
I think people.
Freddie's put in so many of these things too, so you know what's going on.
I have a question. Well, I don't recall a dog run in the original plans way back when we first did
People are
these.
asking us for it, but it's a lot of support.
Anita, I do believe on the south end in the parking lot, just like you've spoken about, at maybe 5 years ago in the rec committee meetings, there was a dog run along the park.
I think the plans I have are older than that.
You
but
were
anyhow.
actually losing parking because of that, because these middle aisles were wider to accommodate the
Okay.
dog run.
And then the other thing, I'll borrow it. I don't like a dog run in the park, but that's okay.
You have a problem with dogs, Nita.
No, no.
Yeah, you do, you told me you do.
I just-
Well, when you're taking out human activity for dog activity, that's another crazy.
The other question I had was the gazebo for the I know you've taken it out for budget reasons. There isn't a place in this town where we can have any kind of performing arts whatsoever. It would seem to me that that would be something we really ought to try to keep here.
Remember the rec center? We had a whole area for that, and it just never happened.
Because the acoustics are so bad.
Well, we can put it in, I mean, just,
But
it's gonna be next year.
How much is
To
the
do it where it was located, the cost to drive piles and do it.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not something we can't do down the road. It's not something that is cut out totally, it's just trying to save cost in the whole
Well, that's why
project.
I'm asking, is it because of the pilings and the,
Being so close to the
contamination.
riverbank.
do we need to put pilings in if it was the gazebo that was originally planned? Does the gazebo need to be piled?
I have never seen the gazebo. All the plans that I've seen were for a stage.
On-
But
on
obviously
the-
if
On
you-
the original plans that I have, it's a gazebo. But we do need to look at sooner or later providing someplace. We always have to rent a stage for everything that we do. We have music, beautiful music coming in when we do the 4th of July. And there's really no good place to have these things.
That was a
And-
perfect location too.
Yes.
It still is, I mean, we can do it.
I would
It's not
like
that
us-
it can't be done.
Then I would like us maybe to seek when we have the grants meeting, to see if
Not
we
done, it's
can't
not done.
get a grant for that, something for the performing arts for there. We can find somebody reach out to us, and we put it in at a later date, that's acceptable, but I don't want to see it forgotten forever for this town.
Right, I agree with you, Nita.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I've had people who have wanted to come here and perform,
Yeah,
you know, and we just have no place to put them where the townspeople could enjoy it.
yeah, I agree with you on that.
So,
This is the area where you were gonna have your stage, so it's left vacant, again, for future development.
Yeah.
The only problem is that right now we're trying to remediate the entirety of the
But I
site.
understand, I'm not being an obstructionist, I understand, I just wanted to get it on the record that we shouldn't let it go altogether.
Nita, I don't
So-
think anybody wants to let it go. I think our goal is